internet. It's been a short week. It's been a tiring week. It's been an exciting week. Let's look back at Junior Eurovision 2019. Yes, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Welcome to our Roundup podcast here from Gliwice and Katowice. And, Ben, you with me?
We have just about survived, Ewan, yes.
Well, you say just about. We're recording this in the delegation hotel, and about 7 feet away from where we're recording this podcast is Jon Ola Sand. So if this podcast suddenly cuts out, that's why. Tell my wife and kids that I love them. Also joining me for the Roundup podcast and risking life, limit and accreditation for Rotterdam, we have
Richard Taylor from Eurovision Ireland.
John Stanton, also from Eurovision Ireland.
David Webster, all out Eurovision. Everything's wonderful.
Yes, everything is wonderful. If you want to say that a bit louder, you're fine. You've got your back to me. I've got eyeline, okay?
Yeah, okay, I've got that noted.
Okay, right then. So we are a couple of hours after Junior Eurovision 2019, after Poland's victory. Sorry if that's a spoiler, but really, come on. Some great performances, some great show. But first of all, overall impressions. What caught your eye in the show today?
Really a huge atmosphere as well. The Polish audience, they're really loud, vibrant. We know Junior Eurovision's big here, but actually witnessing the cheers and the roar. The only time I can think of something similar would be when Malta hosted in 2004, actually. We had a similar huge crowd there, really supporting the home nation, and we got that here today.
Yeah, I was in the auditorium for the live show today, and wow, just the excitement in everyone's faces, how much everyone was loving all of the acts, to be fair, all of the music.
They're a very proud nation around here, hosting an event like this, and they've picked their gleaming brand new arena to host it. They love it, and they meant business, and they came with the right result.
And the production values, they could really knock the socks off some adult ESCs we've had in the last couple of years.
I believe we've got more in the audience, we've got a bigger stage, we've got a bigger LED display than we had in Tel Aviv.
We did, and talking about the LED display, during the week when we sort of popped in during rehearsals on Thursday, Friday, I couldn't believe how bright the LED display was. So have they sort of hyped it up to Ultra HD? I don't know, but just seemed that extra bit vibrant.
Yeah, we'll just run it at 100%, 110% nit level and just have that pop a little bit more. And with lenses and camera effects, they might have just tweaked it for broadcast. Right then, we're going to run down from 19th up to 1st. Malta popping in 19th. And we should point out, Ben, that the sort of bottom 3 or 4 results, there is quite a bit of randomness in there because of the televote. So last isn't as painful as it should be.
No, you get lots of scores, about 20 to 30 points from the online vote. You have to vote between 3 and 5 songs, so that creates lots of noise at the bottom end, and only the top few countries pull away in the online vote. In the end, Malta ended up with 29 points here, of which 27 were the online vote score. There's a whole grouping there of similar scores in the results table from that online vote.
Okay, 18th place we have Wales and Erin Mai. I think that's, again, we've got that low point score, and I think Wales are going to be disappointed in that. I think they were hoping for more after last year.
Well, we've been speaking to them tonight. They're not disappointed at all. They're actually thrilled that they are not last in this competition. So the fact...
Well, it's an improvement on last year then, so take that away.
Well, so we've discussed with them, so from 20th to 18th, so in 9 years' time, they'll win.
Yep. And also, of course, one of Tejay Carr's aims for Ireland and S4C in Wales is to get the national language out there. They've just had Welsh broadcast around Europe and beyond, with Australia taking part as well and the international viewers. So it hits all the remits of the channel in public service broadcasting. Yay, public service broadcasting. Albania. I wanted Albania to have a better result than 17th, but I think that's completely personal to me. It's just one of these songs that I'm going to champion, even though it didn't do anything on the night.
Albania, yeah, it's not one of those that I would have had at the top, nor would it was one of those that I would have had down at the bottom. So I was quite surprised with the low position.
But a real victim of the running order here, I think. I think there's a real drop in energy in the hall. I felt that yesterday at the jury final. I felt it again today with the live show. After Netherlands, there's a real kind of, we've had the best now. And had Albania been positioned differently, I think more points would have come their way.
Okay, same story again with Portugal. A very personal song for Joanna, picking up 16th place.
Yes, notable here from a scoring point of view that there was a 0 from the juries, but 43 points from the online vote. Now, I've been saying this week that I expected a result like that from Portugal. The song and the staging is far weaker than many of the others here, it has to be said. But perhaps we'll come into Spain later on. Perhaps there was a little bit of voting there. The multiple country voting may have been what lifted Portugal off bottom place.
Ukraine and the spirit of the music from Sofia.
Yeah, this feels about the right position for Ukraine. For me, it was a nice song, but just not right for the competition. It didn't hit any boxes for anybody that would vote for it.
Moving up, 14th place, we have Georgia, We Need Love, Georgie, and some light, mellow, nighttime jazz, which we could do right now with in the bar, to be perfectly honest. Apart from we don't want Georgia on the bar, we just need the jazz going.
We could do with it in the bar, actually, but it was nice, it was happy, it was smiley, and it's just what everybody needs in Europe at the moment.
So at 13th place, Russia. Now, Ben, correct me if I'm wrong here, but that's the first time Russia's dropped out of the top 10 at Junior Eurovision?
Don't know the stats for certain, but that would make a lot of sense. Russia is one of the big players in this competition normally. That score there is a very low jury score for Russia. If you look at running order, it could be possibly because it was a very crowded first half of the show, and drawn third is a weak running order position. But, you know, in a sense, it wasn't Russia's A game here. This wasn't the kind of big production number that we would expect from Russia.
There's nothing on stage apart from the singers. We're just going for a straight duet, a little bit of backdrop as well, lots of blues, a little dash of purple in there. It was just like, yeah, we're going through the motions here.
Yeah, it was a well done but nothing more performance.
12th from Ireland, and Ireland are now very happy that they beat Russia. Having spoken to the delegation, that's just like, yep, we've got a solid win there. Anna Kearney and the Banshee.
She was great. We'd spoken to her mother, and like her mother had already said to her, "Don't worry if you don't win." So it's sort of been laid out there that she probably wasn't going to win, and like we were happy with how she did. She's very endearing little character, that one. We loved her. She's selling a very niche language to the rest of Europe. They're like Welsh.
Yeah, but essentially what we have here is theatrical drama played right to the edge of before it goes tacky, almost shades of Enya and that sort of period in Irish music where Irish just sounded perfect for a ballad.
Yeah, and talking about the musical theatrical drama aspect, because she's used to that element, she's able to deliver a song, and that's probably how Ireland managed to score one of their highest results yet.
Also just missing out on the top 10, we have Belarusian and Ashen from Lisa Minskiova. That just seems a little bit of an underperformance for Belarus.
If you look at history, yes, but in terms of this song here, when we come to the big hitters, there have been some huge bombastic performances that have done well today, and I think it's really clear that if you are going to impress in this competition, you're going to have to really pull out all the stops and do something that's not just pleasant but really impressive artistically.
So now we move into the top 10, and Daria for Serbia, who closed off the show with a lovely message. Serbia should be happy they're in the top 10, but you know, with that late place in the running order, the message going through, I think it was kind of weakened by the strong run of ballads that it had before it.
Yes, and also there's a lot of environmental songs this year, and they probably all cancelled each other out, but I like the strong statement it had at the end, there is no planet B, but because there's so many climate change songs, I think that didn't help and I expected Serbia to do a lot better.
I expect there's a bit of our Eurovision bias though. A Balkan ballad isn't a genre for a junior audience per se, and the audience here is not, look at the regional countries, there's not that much of the Balkans taking part in this either, so it's a little bit niche in that sense. 10th is a shame because it's a lovely, lovely song with a great message, but it's limited by the way this competition works.
And I think the fact it was the last one on as well, so because we'd had so many environmental songs on, this was yet another one. And for me, probably one of the better ones, actually. Daria sold all 3 minutes of that performance, but we'd already heard that same message 6 or 7 times by that point.
Yeah, and just above her in 9th place, Armenia and Karina and Colour of Your Dreams, sort of opening up that quartet of environment songs as well.
Okay, yeah, Armenia, yes. It was very, very Disney, which would appeal to a very narrow demographic, I think, and not necessarily the sort of demographic that would vote online. It's not really my sort of thing.
This song has a lot of appeal in the Junior Eurovision fan base. It is a much more youthful and younger sound than many of the others in the competition. This suffered from the online vote, which would surprise many people. But actually, we know from history that juries in Junior Eurovision tend to vote lower in age style than we would expect. Yeah. They go down rather than up traditionally. And also, Armenia is a small country, and the voting system here means they struggle with online vote.
Yeah, and it's the online vote that tends to look for a slightly older feeling song as well. Australia opening up the show, finishing 8th with Jordan Anthony, We Will Rise. It just feels like the perfectly average result for them. Not too good, but not too bad either.
And it seems to be that it's the online vote that they've suffered with here in Poland, because not many points on the online vote. And that's surprising, given that we've got all but 5 of the countries adopting an element of English in their song. You'd have thought the one song that was sung purely in English would have a real kind of head start in this competition.
Yeah, and of course we're looking at running order again, opening up. It's a good slot, but 19 songs is the longest Junior Eurovision going through, so maybe it's just simply lost in the mix when it comes to voting.
A little bit. I think Jordan did a great vocal, but it wasn't an Australian A-game vocal. When I heard the song originally, I expected more vocal gymnastics to be involved within that final minute. He hit all the notes correctly, but there wasn't any X factor to it to really lift it to the next level.
Yeah, when I first heard that Australian song, it was the only one of the 19 that appealed to me first hearing. So I was a little bit disappointed that it didn't do better in the online voting, because it's a very he's a writer beyond his years, I think, and I just loved it. Just disappointed that it didn't do as well as it probably could have done.
But I think the fact that it is in the top 10 means that the career that he's building up in Australia is going to carry on. I don't think this is a career-limiting finish.
No, and if you look at the songs above him, perhaps barring one personally, I can fully appreciate why they finished higher. So I think 8th is a fair result, all in all.
And 7th, again with Italy, I think that feels like sort of not too bad, not too poor result, but they'll be happy with that. They got there. It's not at the very top of the game, but Italy came. They were in that quartet of ballads, and I'm just going to do a little scroll down. I think they're the top one out of that little group there, actually, yeah.
I think Italy will be very, very delighted with that result, actually. That was 12 from Ireland. Wow.
We're just checking the other scores on the other computer.
Scores. Excellent job for Italy there. I think that's a good result. They got good scores, high but not in the top reaches from both online voting and the juries. 7th is a very good result for Italy. It was not tipped to be that high beforehand, so well done.
Almost like it's a lot of second favourite and third favourite songs just from people, just putting the sort of middling votes going up through the middle, and if it had been a very close contest, perhaps that might have been enough to lift it higher up, but as it was, top 3 really did start to pull away. North Macedonia finishing in 6th. That, I think, again, is North Macedonia's... They've had a 5th.
They've had a fifth a long...
Technically, that was the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, so we can say, just in this script, that that's their best result.
It's a great result regardless. Above them, you've got what I'm going to call the Junior Eurovision Big Five. The nations that get a big viewership, the nations that have resources to put on a great stage show.
They can get the online televote motivated.
Macedonia, small nation, singer, alone on stage. The most they had to really put on was a little bit of a smoke throw. Brilliant artistry from Mila, power in the vocal. What a stunning result. The official best of the rest here tonight.
Look, we spoke to a member of the Macedonian delegation yesterday, and they asked us for our prediction. We said top thirds, that means 6 onwards. They would have liked top 5, but they'd have gone with the top 6. They've gone with the top 6. We've seen them tonight, and they're ecstatic.
Yeah. Note for Macedonia: when your singers stand still and just sing, they do really well. They did that in Tel Aviv. They did that here. Maybe it's just like tone down the histrionics, focus a little bit more on the song.
Tear some ligaments.
Oh! Yes, we should explain for those who are not completely following along. Mila did have an injury a week before.
Last week in rehearsals, yes.
Final rehearsals, which meant the choreography was out the window, lots of strapping on the leg. She's like, yep, that's fine, we can deal with that. And we can already see the memes coming up on Twitter with the face and the reactions and the emotion that she got down the camera lens.
Because we have a character who performs with their face as well. It is always facial emotions that sell vote for me, not jumping around the stage. That doesn't tell you a vote for somebody. It is knowing that person is somebody you can relate to.
Okay, so into Ben's big hitters, and France and Bim Bam Twa. Defeated by the running order?
I think so. I mean, it was being tipped right from the start. I would have had it in my top 5 personally, but it was all big and brash, and it appeals to the right market. A bit like some of the others that are going for the kids, and the kids are going to vote for this one. It had shiny umbrellas, for goodness sake. I mean, that's just
Shiny spinning umbrellas.
Yes. Yeah,
That lit up.
that's always going to be a vote winner, isn't it? We need more songs with big, shiny, lighting up umbrellas, I think.
Yeah, I think there's a slight uneasiness about the message of this one, particularly when you look at some of the messages in the other songs. Perhaps that played a part and didn't translate as well for people, but it's top 5 still for France.
Indeed. Moving up, 4th, the Netherlands, which I had put down as the dark horse. In the end, 4th is underperforming. At the same time, I think Arvoros is going to be quite happy that they don't need to dust off the plans for Maastricht next year.
I loved the Netherlands ever since the second rehearsal that we saw earlier this week. I thought it was slick, it was polished,
And they stopped the rehearsal because the table was round the wrong way.
absolutely. I mean, come on.
Attention to detail.
Exactly, we need to get everything spot on, and that's what they've been aiming for all week long.
Yeah, and it caught me as soon as you hear it, and all I can hear in my head all week long is the Netherlands. It didn't do as well as it should have done.
It was always my tip for accidental winner. 4th in the jury, 4th in the online votes, 4 sets of 12s. The rule of 4, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Although it was the group 4 2 years ago, and that would have really, really given you all the 4s, I think, there. But we just missed that punt out very slightly. Spain, Melanie Garcia and Marta. The Spanish fans are very, very engaged, and they really got behind this song. And I think that bronze is acceptable, but okay.
It is. We were expecting before this that Spain would do very well with the jury performance. The majority of Spain's points were actually from the online vote, and we know the big push in Spain on the main channel, etc., etc. But regardless, we know the clarity of Melanie's vocal. We know how well the story was staged. We expected the juries to really come in for this. Jury results did get some 12s, got some 1s and some 2s here and there as well, which was a surprise. It would be worth dissecting that more in the future to see exactly where that's come from. But from Spain there, this wasn't universally liked as a technical performance, which is something that's, I think, interesting, worth noting, because Melanie does have that great vocal and that classic jury style of song here. So, interesting.
I agree with Ben. It wasn't universally liked, and it wasn't particularly my favourite. However, She did everything she could possibly. RTVE did everything they could possibly to win votes. They even got Mika on board, the Spanish judge from Eurovision this year. Even got him in a promotion saying, vote for Spain, please. But overall, it's a good comeback, and I expect we'll see them back for years to come yet.
Yeah. And they've got a good, clear understanding of the rule books and the tactics that are needed, because this is still a contest. We still keep score.
Yeah, for me, it was all about those high notes that Melanie hit each and every time, which I think 80% of people were in awe of, and it was probably the first big cheer in the auditorium. There may have been one or two that saw it as a gimmick, and that might explain some of those ones and twos.
Yeah, because we've got 3 what we would conveniently call jury notes sitting in there.
Absolutely, and perhaps too many. Perhaps they went over the top with it.
Okay, so we head into the top 2, and this was, we thought, would you have called Poland and Kazakhstan as the top 2 beforehand? Well, I think when we did our Christmas market cast, we all had both Kazakhstan and Poland there or thereabouts. But I think Kazakhstan is the more surprising one, to get all the way up to second.
In a sense, yes. Kazakhstan was a clear jury vote winner tonight. And really got support from across the continent as well, which was great to see. The song is just built so much for applause and for appreciation, and Yazan's got a you want him to do well kind of thing about him. I can't put my finger on it, but
It's got the X factor.
But you know what? He doesn't. Through his bio and through researching him and doing like Kazakhstan in our article we've got in the EC Insight, Yazan's finished second in a lot of competitions.
Yeah.
He finished second in The Voice Russia. He finished second in, I want to say, New Wave Junior or Sonoma Junior, a few competitions like of that level. And he's done that again.
He's just keeping the run going. Like John with his 4s, we've got Yevan with his 2s.
Kazakhstan came here and gave it absolutely everything. And it's been brilliant to see. We can note they've got a good online vote. The top 5 here are the top 5 in the online vote. Yeah. That's something we really need to note, I think, for how we deal with this in the future. But
and the other thing to note is also the correlation to the viewing figures in the top 5 in the online vote. Certainly the top 3 are the ones that historically have had the top 3 viewing figures of audience at home on TV.
And when we come into the next song in particular, and you see just how much viewership and how much votes it's related to, it's staggering how this competition works.
So we have Poland winning, as mentioned at the start. But first of all, it's not even the overnights, but the Snap TV viewing figures, which we've heard from the TVP executives, was an average of 5.5 million viewers, peaking at 7.8 million viewers as the scoring came in. Poland have, last year I think Poland were the top TV audience with around 2.5 to 2.7 million. So they've more than doubled the viewership, and they've walked away with the online televote by about 62 points. You want to talk about powerhouses, you understand the system and are putting everything behind it. It's Poland.
Well, that would explain why they want to host it in 2020 then, because as some commentators are already saying on social media, Poland are going to win this for years to come.
Watch out, Ireland, we're coming for the one last record you think you have.
Absolutely. But you know what?
Yeah. All that stuff aside, superhero, Vicky Gabor, fantastic song, great staging, costume and outfit that's going to work for cosplaying at Eurovision parties for years to come as well.
And actually sell Junior Eurovision as a concept and as a brand, and saying, look, this is the calibre and the type of song that we can create with this competition.
Much as we were touting other possible countries to win this thing, say Kazakhstan or Spain, this one was always going to be there. It's just like what's the word? The zeitgeist. It's the right song for the right time. It's the right country for the right time. They could win this year after year, because they're like the current Malta, they're like Ireland in the 90s.
And what's interesting for me is last year they won with an internal selection, this year they won with a national selection. It's as if they could do it with any selection possible.
It needs to change. The way we're talking about this, the way we spoke about the levels with the, this 3-tier system, It was so clear tonight in the results how it's worked out. We've said before how Poland was unstoppable in this online vote. That's a staggering score. You have to vote between 3 and 5 songs, and Poland's got about 15% of the vote almost, I think. It's a crazy, stupid amount here. This cannot go on, because I can't sit here with all the kids around me and have them experience just how unfair and unjust this is. It is a lovely
system. We should make clear here, we're talking about the entire system. We're not talking about Vicky here. We're not going to take anything away from her. She's going to have a great career going forward, much as Roxy did as well. But the sort of framework that we have here is an issue.
Let me apologise for saying, no, what a brilliant song, of course.
And it's a deserved winner as well.
It is a deserved winner. But that stigma is going to lie for the next 12 months. And the broadcasters now know the game. Do we want the kind of game where broadcasters are saying, we want to win, please do these things to help us win? It's pushed the limit too far. Online voting has far too much power and needs to be adjusted.
So yeah, around about 15% of the vote, and if most people are picking 5 songs over 3, then most people have picked Poland as one of their 5 tonight. But you know what? Poland are doing all the right things to make that happen, and there's nothing, apart from perhaps finances, stopping other broadcasters from doing that exact same thing. So, come on, maybe the other people need to come up to the plate.
Wales are doing all they can. They can't compete. Yes, we can accept that smaller broadcasters in Eurovision have more difficulty. But the level of difficulty here is, if not 10, it's probably 100 times harder. If you had a Eurovision-style voting system, and Wales and Ireland, etc., we know they've got difficulties of voting right now. To win this competition, which is the Junior Eurovision, should be the more fair, more equal, more righteous one. This is the one that's harder to win. And that sits uneasy with me ethically.
We have a lot to dissect over the next few weeks and months. There's even the idea that this voting system might want to be tried at the Adult Song Contest as well, and then we would be into even more fun and games when you go on to a much larger stage. So, look, let's go back to the song. Superhero was high energy, it was exciting, the staging brought it all together in one. When you look at the complete package of it on stage, as we've all agreed, even if we'd had the older voting system, I think this still would have managed it.
I want to say yes, but if it's a traditional televote, I think Kazakhstan would have done a much better televote than it actually got. And I'm going to argue that because I think the momentum for Kazakhstan wasn't there on Friday and Saturday. We'll never know the exact numbers, but I would suspect that a majority of the online vote probably came from beforehand, before the show took place here in Gliwice. And
voting was open from Friday and closed at the start of the show, then opening again for just 15 minutes during the show.
Now, when you have to go and vote in this competition, you have to watch a recap. Kazakhstan's song doesn't it recaps fantastically, but you don't get the growth of character. It's a 3-minute growth to see the crescendos build in. You get a 1-minute clip if you go on the official website. You don't get the full spectacle. Sometimes songs need to play out for 3 minutes to tell their story. They're not just a 4-chord loop. There's different ways of playing this. And no, I could actually argue if it was a traditional voting system, it may not have won. It would certainly be up there because it's a great hit song. There's many different ways to do a voting system. The most important thing for Junior Eurovision is that every kid here thinks it's fair, and I don't think they do right now.
A topic we will come back to, both in relation to Junior and the Adult Contest as well. But that is our 19. So, just to round it all up, let's look back at the whole week. What stood out for you all? What's been that's made Junior Eurovision for me?
I think it's just general organisation, because they've made the big thing of the fact it's been an entirely Polish production. No Swedish, for example, no British, no Norwegian, whatever. And it's worked really well. It just shows that if the big JESC were to come along knocking, TVP could do it.
And then that's one of the great things about the EBU. It's a public broadcasting union. It's for its members. And these big events are about sharing the knowledge of how to put on a big event. I mean, for me, in a sense, Junior Eurovision feels like Eurovision was in the 90s. It was you go in, you spend 2 or 3 million, you get a huge amount of transferable skills that now TVP can deploy into other areas of all their production and all their TV and all their live events for years going forward. And I think that's one of the difficult things to do at adult, because you have to get in so many outside contractors because of the size.
Yeah, but they've managed it, and they've carried it out with aplomb. It's just been a great week, a great production. They've really looked after us. Loved it.
From a website point of view and from a member of press point of view, not to have all week in the press centre was lovely. We'd asked for interviews, and some of the interviews were done before we even got to press centre. It was done in a relaxed environment here, and it made for a great week, because it also meant we had time in a host city or Katowice as well to explore. We weren't contained in those 4 walls and got cabin fever.
Quick yes or no, I'm just going to go around the table on that point. Do we want first rehearsals closed to adult Eurovision in the same way that they were closed here at Junior Eurovision? Yes or no?
It's a tough one.
Let's give it a try.
I'd say yes, give it a go.
Couple of things to do to make sure press get enough resources, but yes.
Yeah, and for me, it's a yes as well. And we also need to look at the press conference organisation. Here, there was one press conference rather than after every single rehearsal. So it's worked really well without most of those press conferences.
And can I say that one press conference, we're meant to be able to do a meet and greet with everybody afterwards. Quite a few of the delegations went away straight away.
Something to do with it's an hour and a quarter before the jury final, so a little bit of timing issue there.
Yeah, so if they'd organised that or planned that better, so if they did that for adult or junior next year, do that after a day's worth of rehearsals, not between the 2 dress rehearsals.
And anybody with a long memory will realise that the meet and greet was done after the first rehearsals when we were in Malmo. So it has been done before, and it worked really well there as well.
Yeah, it's an efficient way of doing it. You're not drawing on the participants' time more than you need to, and you've got everyone where you need them,
For me this week, people who read Insight a lot or listen to me will be well aware of how, especially in this contest, I look out for young people being able to show exactly what they can do, being able to impress us. And what's impressive this year as a theme is about how many of the songs and the artists, even if they're not singing about these issues of environmentalism, activism, climate change, the Earth's destruction, how many of them are showing just how passionate they are for issues. They are not just here to sing a song. They are here with strong messages and strong beliefs and are willing to put them out. And they are positive messages for the future. The next generation are really... It's funny. The next generation are trying to educate this generation about so many things. And the artists here tonight were really pushing that message, and that hit me that we need to see more of this from us for 2020.
So that's us. That is Junior Eurovision 2019. One trying to say the links and everything because it doesn't stop. We've got a couple more hours when you listen to this podcast to get the name for Bulgaria. We've got Melfest artists coming out within a week. Our focus turns on the adult contest. So we say goodbye to Junior Eurovision with a huge list of reflections and things to know and lessons to learn. And it keeps on going and it keeps on getting better, and we just hope it goes through. And as you can just possibly hear in the background, new friendships being made all over Europe. That's what it's all about. Thank you all to my guests. We have had
Richard Taylor,
John Stanton,
David Webster,
and Ben Robertson.
And it only remains for me to say thank you all for listening to podcasts, reading ESC Insight, reading all the websites we've had here all over Europe. Everybody else, thanks for listening. Comments are always welcome, but for now it's the end of a season, even though it's felt a very short one because of the time here on the ground. So we'll play out as always with J2M and the power of Magic Hair and the guitars with just a little bit more light.